Hey guys, and welcome back for part 2 of our Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn beta test Phase 4 patch notes. In this section, we're going over basically everything that you can find that was uploaded on August 14th, 2013 on the beta forums concerning what's going to be inside the test. So we're going to go over the playable content first, then we're going to jump to the battle system next, followed by items, crafting, and gathering, then system stuff, and then fixed bugs we'll just briefly skim over, which is very short. Just a single sentence for an update over bugs they fixed in the previous beta test. So before we get into it, I just want to point out that they say all data from beta test phase 4 is scheduled to be carried over to the official service for Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn. However, circumstances may necessitate the deletion of character data during phase 4. In this event, character data will be transferred once more before the start of official service. So basically, like, if there's a game-breaking bug, if some asshole logs into the game and finds out an exploit with Gil, or something along those lines, that's why they're going to have to delete our character data and start over from scratch and basically do like a do-over. So hopefully that doesn't happen, but just don't be surprised if it does. They're just warning us. If that was to happen, that's their failsafe. Alright, moving into playable content. The level cap has been set to 20. All restrictions will be removed starting from early access. So basically they're treating this game as a demo right now in Phase 4, is what Yoshi P said himself. At least from what I heard in, I think it was Reinhardt's translation or something, or I think it was Bayonne's translation in the Q&A section on the Lodestone. I don't remember which. But basically he's referring to it as like a demo now. It's coming to the end of the beta test. There's still some things they have to fix here and there and go over, like PvP and the housing area. But for all intents and purposes, he's treating it as a demo right now, which is why he's been activating and adding everything that's going to be into the early access and official release. So the reason they set it at 20 is because they want to give people a nice demo impression of what the game's like, but not give them everything right at the forefront. You know what I mean? So that is why they set it back down to 20, because initially it was at 30 and 35, I believe, in the previous test. In the alpha test, it was 20, but in Phase 3 of beta and Phase 2, I believe, they set it up to 35 for players. Now, the following areas have been added, such as Mist, which is the housing area for Limbs of Laminza, which I believe can be found at Red Rooster Steed, I think they say below. Wolves Den Pier, which is the PvP area that Yoshi showed off in the previous live letter that we just went over. That area was, I'm 100% sure that was the Wolves Den Pier that they were talking about and showing us. So that's going to be available for testing. And then there's the Korthus Central Highlands. That's right, Korthus is finally being implemented into A Realm Reborn for us to explore for the very first time. Now it only says Central Highlands, so that makes me believe that there's other areas that are blocked off currently until you get higher in the story. So that's why it's like capped at level 20 right now. Maybe there's other areas you have to get through. Now Ishgard is not listed on here, so that leads me to believe that it's still shut off and closed, especially since Yoshi P said that around the first major expansion is when he wants to open up Ishgard and possibly Alamigo. So I highly doubt you can expect going inside Ishgard just yet, but you can go and see it. Then there's also Mordana, which is opened up, which you can see is the next image displayed. That is basically the entire area. It doesn't basically point out a specific zone, it just says Mordana. So that leads me to believe that there's only a portion of Korthus we can explore, the central area of the Highlands, and then Mordana as a whole, since Mordana was a small zone in the original Final Fantasy XIV. So I don't think there's anything really blocked off there that I know of, unless it's maybe a Garlean base or something, but I don't know for sure. I can't say that right now. Additional side quests up to level 20 have also been added. It says here as a special note, the side quest A Relic Reborn will be available after the start of official service. So for people like me and others that wanted to finish the Relic quest from 1.0, we cannot do it until the 27th. So for Phase 4 and Early Access, we're going to have to figure out other things to do, like leveling Arcanist, or just exploring Korthus and Mordana, getting farther, well, basically getting up to level 20 in the story as far as you can get. So get to level 20, max out your Arcanist at 20, and basically either gather or just explore Korthus and Mordana the rest of the time. That's probably what I'll be doing throughout the weekend, most likely. Also, Additional class quests have been added. Job quests will be available at the start of official service, so Arcanist class have basically been thrown into the mix up until level 20, I believe. Voices have been added to certain cutscenes and main scenario quests, so I'm guessing not everything in the main scenario is voiced. It just says certain cutscenes, so makes me lead to believe the more dynamic ones and flashbacks are being voiced, and maybe the more shorter, bite-sized ones aren't. So we'll have to see about that. The following changes have been made to guild leaves. So they basically went over a couple revisions of, they adjusted guild, they adjusted the experience you get, and stuff like that. So I'm not going to really get too much into it, so you can read over that if you want. As well as with guild tests, they adjusted them as well. They adjusted the behavior of certain monsters, rewards received, and also if you're not incapacitated at all, you get a bonus. Another small note I want to make about the guild leaves is that it switched from 5 a.m. Pacific, 8 a.m. Eastern for when the guild leaves become received, when they give you more of them now. So they changed that around a bit as well, along with the initial leaves that you get for unlocking them for the first time. Also, changes to fate have been added, where there's new fates added to the game for basically Korthus and Mordana and possibly the pre-existing areas that we've been in already. And also, here's another interesting note I want to point out. It says, players who exceed the recommended level for a fate by 6 or more levels cannot interact with enemies in said fate without using level sync. So you won't have level 50 players coming in and basically one-shotting all the mobs now. So they can't participate in fates unless they level sync. So 6 or more levels, they basically get shut out. And you also cannot use Provoke on any Fate enemies either in those instances now. In order to facilitate testing of PvP environments, the Wolves' Den has been made available during Phase 4, which we went over previously. It says that during Phase 4, players can access the Wolves' Den through the Duty Finder after completing the main scenario quest, Lord of the Inferno, which is the quest that involves fighting Ifrit for the first time in the main scenario within the Bowl of Embers. It says you can travel to Wolves' Den Pier by speaking with the ferry skipper at Morabie Docks. So you gotta go to the Morabie Dry Docks, which is in Lonosia, and then when you find the NPC, he takes you to the island there, and that's how you get to the Wolves' Den area for PvP. Players can now change the name of their personal chocobo by speaking with the chocobo keep in Gridania, ul'dah, or Limsa. So this was in beta phase 3, but for those of you that did not get to experience it, you can rename your pre-existing or your new chocobo. So if you're not happy with your chocobo's name from 1.0, if you had one, then you can switch his name up this time. Especially since you're going to have multiple chocobos in this game, it's probably a good idea to sort out a good list of names that you might have on your mind. So that is possible for you guys. Also, following features and functions will be added to Free Company. So for people that are interested in the Free Company system, you should listen up. This is going to be pretty cool. During Phase 4, only characters carried over from version 1.0 above level 25 can form a Free Company. So, sorry guys, you're going to have to hold out a little bit longer, but for pre-existing characters above level 25, you should be able to test this out. So just to reiterate, you need about 3 to 4 people, I believe, to start a Free Company, and you got to pick one of the 3 cities to initiate it in. But it doesn't matter which Free Company city you started it in, you can be in any of the cities to set your base of operations up, so there's no restrictions. I just wanted to, that was at the top of my head, I wanted to share that with you guys, in case anybody missed out on that. By forming a Free Company, players will gain access to a company crest, which can be used to share items between Free Company members. In addition, members can accrue Free Company experience points and Free Company credits. Accruing Free Company experience points will unlock the following features. So if you speak with these OIC officers, they're basically these they look like musketeers, and I don't mean like musketeers like in 14 with the gun. I mean like the 3 musketeers where they got that interesting looking jacket on and a little fancy hat and sword. Well, they don't have the sword, but they have a checkered board style outfit like that, and you'll see them in the Free Company area, or not the Free Company, the Grand Company halls. You'll spot them behind the counter and stuff. And basically, you talk to these guys, and they give you your Free Company credits. So, you get Gil as one currency, you have Grand Company Seals, which is another currency, and now you have a very brand new currency known as Free Company Credits. So there's 3 types of currencies in the game currently now, which is pretty nuts. All right, so you know how you get gil from doing quests and blah blah blah. You get seals from doing Grand Company quests and guild leaves and fates, yada yada yada. Well, now you get free company points. So there's various different things you can do with your free company to accrue these credits. So it says the following things you can spend these things on. So by speaking with an OIC officer of arms in any of the 3 cities, players can create a company crest. The maximum capacity of the company chest will increase also. So you guys get a personal chest you can all store your stuff in. A universal chest. By speaking with the OIC officer of arms in any of the 3 city-states, players can affix their company crest to gear as well. So if you've seen the image below, you can stick it on your shoulder for your armor, you can stick it on a shield or your breastplate for your clothing, or like the body or whatever. So that's pretty awesome. I'd probably stick mine on the shoulder or whatever. That looks like a nice place to stick it. Free company actions will also become available, so these are what you spend your credits on. The following actions can be purchased from OIC quartermasters using company credits. The Heat of Battle, which grants you increased experience in battle. You get Earth and Water, which increases your experience when gathering. And then you get Helping Hand, which increases your experience while crafting. You also get another type of special ability trait, which is called the Man's Best Friend, which increases the experience earned by companions like your Chocobo. Brave New World is another one, which basically increases all the attributes of all members under level 10. So if you have a bunch of newbies that are 10 and below, this Brave New World trait increases their attributes while you train them and stuff, and teaching them the ways of like the game and whatnot. Here's another one, such as Live Off the Land, increases gathering. And then there's one called Eat from the Hand, which increases craftsmanship. You have some more that increases perception, increases your control, increases spirit bond speed, which would be great for spirit bonding gear and turn into materia. And Meat and Meat increases duration of food effects. You get another one called Proper Care, which slows gear wear. Back on your feet, reduces the duration of weakness, and then reduced rates. Reduces teleportation fees if you're teleporting around a lot. And then it says, because Chocobo companions are not available during Phase 4, a man's best friend will not have any effect. So basically, according to them, in Phase 4, Chocobo companions will not be available for some reason. I don't know if that means they're not going to be there for launch, or if they're like in another patch, but it seems like for the sake of the Phase 4 testing, they're not going to be there, but hopefully they'll be back in time for launch and early access. So we'll have to see about that. It says purchase actions can be accessed under actions in the free company menu. And then here we're going into dungeons and whatnot. Accessible instance dungeons have been restricted. During Phase 4, only the following instance dungeons can be accessed: Sistash the Seagrot, the Tamtara Deepcroft, Copperbell Mines, and Haltali. So they're not going to have any others available yet in Phase 4, but in early access and launch, they possibly will update that list, and I'm pretty freaking sure, like 99.9% sure, that list will get expanded immensely with the addition of Korthus and Mordana officially being implemented, along with the other dungeons that are being tucked away in the other pre-existing areas we've explored thus far. The following changes have been made to instance dungeon level restrictions. So basically, I'm just going to show you a picture, and the list shows that they increased like the cap of like the highest level you can go in as by like 1 or 2 levels. So that's the only major difference with those. And then of course it says certain quests must be completed prior to entering instance dungeons, such as going through the main story quest. In the event one or more members of the party have yet to clear the instance, all party members will receive a party bonus upon completion. This bonus only applies to instances below level 50, which is basically like everything in the game other than maybe like Bahamut's Labyrinth, which could be a level 60 dungeon for all we know, and then become easier as the level cap increases one day. So that's what I think about that. Now for the bonus upon completion bit, essentially, if you have a new player that joins in on Duty Finder and he says he's never done this before, you get an experience bonus increase or I don't think it's an experience bonus. It's some sort of bonus at the end. I don't know what it is, because you usually don't receive experience after completing a dungeon. You usually get a reward, so I don't know if it increases the reward rate or the gil inside the treasure chest for everybody. I'm not sure which, or maybe they do give you XP at the end. Who knows? So we'll have to see about that in Phase 4 once we start playing. It says also, in the event a player fails to complete a quest battle several times, it will receive an enhancement effect upon trying again. So basically, like, if, kind of like in New Super Mario Brothers, like, if you fail a certain amount of times, it gives you an option to, like, see how to beat the level or something, or it gives you, like, a helping hand. Well, this sort of works in a similar fashion, except it gives you an enhancement effect. If you fail, like maybe let's say, like for example, off the top of my head, 4 or 5 times you fail, you basically unlock like a bonus to like your HP or your attack power increases or something like that, or maybe your evasion increases so you don't get hit as much. So maybe they do something like that, not sure which. But it's obviously a buff that's on your character. I don't know if it affects the whole party if they continuously die, or if it's only for you specific if you die a certain amount of times. So I don't know, we'll have to see about that. But it works for all dungeons apparently under level 50. The following additions have been made to the hunting log. A category for Arcanists has been added since it's now accessible in Phase 4 of the beta test, as well as Rank 5 has been added for all classes in their hunting logs. The boarding fee for the ferry has been adjusted. Now this one is funny because the boarding fee was like 40-something thousand gil when we tried boarding it from Thanalan to Limsa or Limsa and back. So thank Christ he fixed that, because that would have been a pain in the ass having to pay like 40,000 gil every time you're going on a fucking ferry ride. I mean, it's not even a ride, it's like an instantaneous port back and forth, so I'm glad they addressed that, because that was freaking bonkers. Players will receive experience points when entering a new area for the first time. So this is way back when they were talking about like you're going to receive experience rewards for encouragement of exploring new areas. So if you enter Korthus and Mordana for the first time with your Arcanist in Phase 4, bam, experience bonus right there. So it says experience received is dependent upon your current class. So I'm basically saying that if you're like in the mid to lower levels, you'll probably get more XP, obviously. If you're like level 50, you probably won't get shit. So this is what I recommend. If you're a level 50 returning character and you're going searching and exploring, if you're entering Korthus or Mordana for the first time, switch over to your Arcanist or whatever class you want to level and make sure that gets the XP and not your main class that you're on at level 50, which does not get the XP, it goes to waste. So keep that in mind, guys. Quick little tip right there I just want to throw out for you. To facilitate ongoing testing, the Limsa housing area Mist will be available in Phase 4. The entrance to Mist is located at Red Rooster Steed at X33 on the map and Y19, which are the coordinates. So that's 33X, 19Y on coordinates on the map for Red Rooster Steed to locate Mist. Players can now replay cutscenes in the inn by accessing the Unending Journey. So for new players, the Unending Journey was basically a cutscene viewer. You read a journal that's sitting in your inn room, and you can watch all the cutscenes in the game that you previously accessed. So all the main story quests, class quests, job quests, you name it, are right smack dab in there. So if you're a cutscene guy on YouTube like me that likes uploading that stuff and sharing it with people so they catch up on the story, or for your own personal use, that's there for you. So if depending on like what the time of day is and what gear you're wearing, it'll update and stuff in the cutscene viewer. So that's really awesome that they added that. Alright, now we're moving on to the battle system section. So to start off, we got Arcanist now being available in Phase 4 of the beta test. Players can now choose to play as Arcanist when creating a character. So remember, if you choose Arcanist, you're going to start in Limsa Lominsa, so your class is always tied to the cities, unless they ninja change that or something. But as far as Phase 3 goes, if you picked a certain class, you have to pick where it chooses what city you start in depending on if the guild is there or not. So Arcanist will start in Limsa if you choose it, so I'm already from Limsa. That's the only class I have that's not 50, so it's a win-win for me, killing 2 dodos with 1 stone. The effects and attributes of several actions have been adjusted. So basically they went back and readjusted stuff from all the jobs, all the classes that were previously playable in Phase 3. It says, after unlocking a second battle class, players will receive an experience point bonus known as the Armory bonus when slaying enemies and participating in the Fate. This bonus is only applicable to classes other than your highest level battle class. The following features have been added for personal chocobos as well. So if you see this little picture here I'm showing you guys, it shows a chocobo icon that's added to the character menu. It's this little tiny circle chocobo icon that you can find right above where your main class and gear set is. It says, after acquiring a personal chocobo, a new companion menu will be accessible from the character menu. So that's what that is. That is the companion menu with a little chocobo icon. It also says players will also be able to change the head, body, and leg pieces of their personal chocobo's barding. And here's an image you can see here below showing the head, body, and legs. So previously, dating way back to version 1.0 and even in Phase 3, basically one set of gear you can change in and out from. It was like non-customizable. It was just like choose set 1, leather set, choose set 2, Grand Company set 1, Grand Company set 2, Grand Company set 3, so on and so forth. Now it seems you can break those pieces up into head, body, and legs. So if you want to have like a Black Mage head piece with the hat, and then you want to have like a Dragoon like body and Grand Company leggings, you can actually do that as far as this is saying. So that's pretty awesome to making your bird more unique and not much copy pasted all around the world like everyone having the same one. It says, upon using your Chocobo barding in your personal inventory, it will be added to your companion's menu gear list. So basically when you buy it, it gets added to your inventory. When you use it in your inventory, it disappears and it ends up in your companion's menu in the attributes section permanently, so it doesn't take up inventory space. It also says new monsters have been added, which I don't know if that's new roaming monsters and stuff. Ones that we haven't seen yet, ones that might have been leaked in the data files. Maybe it's a new dungeon that they're getting ready for Mordana and Korthus with new bosses inside, or maybe they switched around some stuff in the pre-existing ones. I don't know, but I'm excited to see anything new that they added from previous Final Fantasies or something brand new. So look forward to that. Keep an eye out for those. So there's also adjustments have been made to enemy positioning, whatever that means. I'll have to find out when we get our hands on it. Okay, so that wraps up that section. We're going to head into the items, crafting, and gathering. So it starts off by saying Fissure is now available. And here you see a picture of the Fissure out in Limsa Lominsa somewhere in the Lenosian region, fishing in a stream with his, I think he doesn't have the full AF, but he does have the AF hat on for Fissure, which is pretty cool. It says, coinciding with the release of the Fissure class, the following features have been added. So you can fish up to locations all the way up to level 50, which is great. You also get the fishing log, fish guide, and the record screen have been added. You also have new items added, such as new crafting recipes that go up to level 50. And these level 50s are referred to as level 50 star. So these are really highly difficult crafting recipes, such as like the heavy dark steel armor and some of the other dark steel pieces that you can wear for Dragoon and Warrior and whatever else they had, because they had quite a few new ones. So that's what that's referring to as well as the Vanya stuff and all that jazz that you had for endgame players. The attributes of normal quality items have also been adjusted. You get gear damage when incapacitated in combat has been reduced, and armor mending NPCs now restore gear durability to 100%. And it basically says the repair fee depends on durability restored. The requirement to choose need when looting on items has been changed. Players may only select need for gear that is appropriate for their current class or job. By speaking with the Calamity Salvager NPC, players can trade season event items from version 1.0 for complete items. So basically, in 1.0, you needed certain materials to make the Santa Claus outfit. So if you still have materials to make the hat or the body or whatever, if you trade those materials in to that NPC Calamity Salvager guy, he'll give you in return the actual item you would have got in 1.0 had you finished using up the materials. And same goes for anything else in 1.0, such as the Kabuto mask or anything like that that might have been left over. The following changes have been made to dyes. There's new dye colors been added to the game, probably such as black and white and other colors that were missing from Phase 3. Newly added colors can be used by all crafters. When selecting a previously dyed item in the item dye menu, the previously selected dye will now be indicated. By using the Chocobo whistle, a Chocobo will be added under the Mounts section of the Actions and Traits interface. So previously in Phase 3, when you got a Chocobo whistle, it took up space in your inventory screen and on your hotbar. So now it's saying once you use it in your inventory screen, similar to a minion, once you use it, it ends up in the attribute section, so it doesn't take up inventory space any longer. So that's a really nice little thing that they fixed. The following changes have been made to minions. New minions have been added to the game, as well as adjustments have been made to which areas allow minions to be summoned, probably like the housing areas like they mentioned the OGP wanted to push for when a fan asked during the live letter previously. The following changes have been made to the materia crafting. Players can now fix materia to the gear of another player. And basically here's a few images going step by step showing how to request materia melding. So you go to request materia in the menu, and then it says select another player, then select request meld from the subcommand menu. So you click on the item, which is your number 1 step, and then you click on the materia you want as your number 2 step. And then it pulls up to a screen which just shows all the finalized information. So for the Materia Meld request, which you're looking at right now in this image, it has the Heaven's Eye Materia 1, and then it has the Iron Spear. And then it shows those 2 little green circles are how many materia slots you can stick it in. And if you stick any more after those 2, that's considered forbidden materia, which you have a chance to either blow it up or stick it successfully. It shows the catalyst you need in order to stick the 2 items together like glue. And then the success rate is 100% because always the 2 little green dots, however many there are on that item, those are always 100%. Any beyond that is less than that. So after you get that screen down, it asks for confirmation, and then if you see the next screen, it asks if you want to meld or cancel. So the person that's looking in your inventory for the request for materia melding, if they don't have the option to meld it themselves, they can get another player to do it for them, and then if they click the meld button, it actually melds. So that is pretty cool. Cracked materia that has already been affixed to gear can be converted as is into materia yet again. However, it says players will also have the option to exchange gear affixed with cracked materia for a special currency. So, I'm not going to get into like that whole thing, but if you've seen the materia system revisions that they showed previously, basically, if you have items that have cracked materia from when you melded in 1.0, it's basically useless now. So you can trade it in for a special currency, and like they mentioned, you can get Darklight Armor in exchange for it. I don't know what the exchange rate is. I don't know how much you need in order to get like 1 piece of Darklight. I'm sure you need like 10 pieces or something, or maybe 5 or whatever, but I'm sure it's something like that'll cost quite a bit since Darklight is still pretty useful. Not as good as it used to be, but it's still pretty damn useful and badass looking. So we'll have to see about that. I'm very eager to see where you go for that sort of thing. It doesn't mention in the patch notes, unfortunately, so I can't help you there. But I guess someone will find it sooner or later, or maybe they'll make like a special mention of it in game, or on the forums, one way or another. The next thing, it says the following changes have been made to the crafting classes. So there's adjustments to the such as like CP cost and things about certain actions have been adjusted. Experience points earned by crafting, and then there's a quick synthesis option, which is amazing. Now get this. Alright, this is called the quick synthesis. So once you hit level 10, you unlock this ability. What this ability does is like, for example, you know when you're crafting and you're making like, oh, I gotta make an ingot. So I made an ingot, now I gotta make another. I gotta make 7 more. So I made 1. Then I gotta do it again, do another, and another, and another. So what happens is, the quick synthesis option, once you reach level 10, is basically, it's like an automatic crafting sort of thing. So like, if you want 7 items done all at once instead of doing them like 1 individually, you can do that. Now, I don't know if that's exactly how it works, but the way it sounds and the way they set this up and addressed it sounds like that. So it says, if you're looking at the image right here I'm displaying right now, it says select the quantity you wish to synthesize. And then it says if you want to use high quality materials included into the mix if they're in your inventory bag, or if you want to leave them out. It says high quality materials will not improve item quality, so you got to take that into fact. But then it says attempts, max 10. So you have 5, and then it says synthesize, quick synthesis. So you have synthesis and quick synthesis. So it's probably like, it doesn't focus on quality whatsoever. So if you're worried about having really nice crafts, you probably don't want to go with quick synthesis. If you want to make a bunch of shit really fast, and you have like a certain amount, like, I don't know, let's say you want like 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 20 things you have to get really fast, and you don't want to bullshit around doing each individual one. Well, the quick synthesis essentially just solves those problems right from there. So I'm going to test that out and see if that really rings true, and see if I'm right or not. But it sounds pretty awesome if that is true. That has been a frickin' thing we've been needing for years now. Also, the following changes have been made to gathering classes. So now the biggest change is that dark matter can no longer be obtained through gathering, which basically I was kind of disappointed to hear that at first, with how easy it was to acclaim dark matter. But then again, the flip side, with how easy it is to claim dark matter and gathering, kind of breaks up the balance and making the threat of gear damage a little bit less daunting. So I think it's good that they took it away for balancing acts, and it seems like the only other way you can get it is from treasure coffers or either rewards or something. I'm not sure which, but we'll have to see about that. They also adjusted attributes, guild point costs, and other such things. You also cannot use food or medicine while gathering anymore, which is interesting. So I guess attributes such as on the food are only for Disciples of War and Magic now, but not for gathering, which is interesting. Also, the level of items obtained while gathering and their locations are now displayed in the gathering log, which is nice to have more info. It says new items obtainable through the gathering have been added as well. And there's also a new action that has been added called Unspoiled, which I guess unspoiled gathering locations, whatever those must be. I guess they have richer resources or something. Anyway, moving along, we have the following changes have been made to the market. So there's a transaction history of all market sales that can now be confirmed by speaking with your retainer. So anything that retainer sells, you can check on a list in your update history of what you sold recently and what you probably bought. There's also items displayed in the item search interface can now be sorted by parameter. One of the biggest changes and additions, which I think a lot of people are going to like, is the following features have been added to retainers, such as when hiring a retainer, players can now customize their appearance. So you go into Character Creator, and you can customize your entire friggin' retainer now. Now, I know I sound really excited about this, even though it's just a retainer, but in version 1.0, you basically had a choice between maybe like 4 or 5 set retainers, and depending on what city you went to claim one, they would have different selections. Now, the difference between version 1.0 and A Realm Reborn is that you could not customize them whatsoever. Now, if you put certain items on them to sell, you had the option to display those items on the retainer itself, but as soon as they were bought, taken away, they would no longer be displayed on the retainer. So you would have a lot of mix-match crap on them, which look really out of place and they don't really look good. So now they stuck them in this default crafting wear that's basically been the series hallmark for retainers look now in the wards. So basically, if you want, you can make it look like your alts, or you can make it look like a hot chick if you want, or a guy, or whatever you want. So that's pretty cool. Now, I don't know if your presets on your file location in your directory of 14 can be used for the retainers, or if you have to just start from scratch and you don't have the option to use your character imports or presets or whatnot to model them after, because that's what I would do. I would probably use my Highlander here as one of my retainers and make another here as another possibly. But we'll see about that. That is really awesome, though. It says players from version 1.0 will also have the opportunity to customize the retainer's appearance. Any changes will be carried over to the official service, so anyone that has retainers like myself from version 1.0 can also customize their appearance as well, and essentially redo them. And you can also choose their retainer's personality, which is like a greeting message if they're greeted by other players or yourself. There's some following changes, some item names that have been fixed, but that's not really something I'm going to go over. We're going to move into the system menu now. So under system, players can now choose to either the micro menu with mouse and keyboard or the main menu using a gamepad. So I'm probably going to stick with the micro menu just because I like the pictures better than the little tabs. And just because I've been using it for like 3 years in the entire duration of all 3 beta tests. So I figure, what the hell, I might as well still stick with it. I never had a problem with it. But I'll try out the gamepad one that's used on PS3 as well, just to see if I like it better. But as of right now, I think I'm going to stick with the micro menu until I feel like switching it up. Another big switch is to the gear selection menu. Under the character interface screen, it says a 3D model of your character will now be displayed. As you can see right here in the red box, players can now toggle the display of their main hand and offhand weapons, as well as headgear. So if you want to basically take screenshots and you don't want your weapon or your shield to get in the way, you can turn that off. And for your helmet too, if you hate your hat but you love the stats on it and you don't want it like being displayed on whatever you're wearing, you can display it off without having to go and make a macro or go into the system configuration anymore, which is freaking fantastic for role players and people that love taking screenshots and videos and stuff like I do. Also, players can now update the contents of their gear sets by simply selecting the button in the top right hand corner, instead of going through several more menu screens to do that. So that's great if you're constantly changing your gear and stuff like I do. Help text is now displayed for all elements of the character interface, so I don't know if that means for the attributes section, if you hover over it, if it displays what strength, dexterity, vitality, intelligence, mind, and piety and the other stats do. If it does, that's going to blow my fucking mind, because that's something I personally asked them to update for, so people don't get confused on like what stats do what, because that's a very important thing. I wouldn't want people to screw up their stats, so hopefully they have the help menu screen for that, or the tutorial thing goes over that a little bit more in depth. So we'll see if they listen once I jump in game. I'll check that out. Also, the following features have been added to the hotbar. Players can now toggle the display of unassigned hotbar slots. So if you have a bunch of empty slots, you can make them invisible so you can't see them. Only the slots where actual items and actions are set to. The MP costs displayed on hotbar icons will now change color when targets are out of range. Players can now choose to share hotbars between multiple classes and jobs. So this is fucking great because I can't even tell you how many times from Alpha to Phase 1 to Phase 2 to Phase 3 I had to redo all my freaking hotbars. Not only because they reset your characters every time, but because each time you unlocked a new job or class or whatever that I had access to at least, I had to redo that stuff every fucking time. And let me tell you, they cut down on a lot of bullshit in menu navigation from 1.0, but there's one thing, not necessarily a bad thing, but just something that eats up a lot of time, is configuring your hotbars. And if you're obsessively compulsive like I am to get things just right, you're going to sit there for like hours making sure every icon is in the perfect slot, lined up perfectly, categorically like separated from one another in specific slots, and it just drives you crazy if you're like me. If you're not like me, then it's not as much to worry about. But for someone like me that really obsesses over that stuff and wants everything to be like just freaking perfect in the right place and neat and stuff, so it's easy to find and work with, that is a great option. So you have the choice to choose like what slots and rows and whatnot you want carry over. So for example, let's say you're switching from Dragoon to Summoner, but all your stats are going to be different obviously. But let's say you have the Chocobo Buddy system icons and the Chocobo Whistle and your other mount whistles, your minion icons, your potions, your macros, your emotes, all that stuff you want to carry over for each and every single job instead of having to redo every time. You can do that now, so that is awesome. So it uses, for example, if Hotbar 10 is set to be shared, changing classes will not affect the contents of Hotbar 10. The following features have been added to the target bar. Enemy signs will now appear on enemy target bars. So basically the target bars that would be like at the top of your screen, if someone marks that with an icon for what to attack first, second, third, and fourth, that will now appear on their names now, which is pretty cool. Not just next to the actual enemy itself, which was not there previously. It says right-clicking on an enemy's target bar will now open the sub-command menu for mouse and keyboard users. Players can now view and edit their search information by right-clicking their names in the party list, and the online status looking to meld materia has been added. And there's also the following features that has been added to the map. Quest names will now appear on the map when their objectives are in a different area. Selecting region names on the world map will now open maps for the selected region. The recommended list has been added, which displays quest or duty availables in your area. So this was actually updated and shown off on the forums recently by, I believe it was Hivenair, if I'm not mistaken. So if you're looking at the image here that I got pulled up, you can see that this is how the duty reminder works. So essentially, if you're in an area and you're like, oh my god, I don't know what quests I'm missing, or what's in the zone that I could actually be doing that and I don't know about, well, the quest reminder pops up and it tells you all the stuff depending on like what zone you zone in and out from. It pops up on the screen. It lets you know like, oh, well, these quests are available. These are the ones you've selected. These are the ones you haven't completed. These are the ones you haven't even begun yet. Or these are the ones that are ready to be finished. Those all display and give you constant up-to-date feed on what's in the local area. And also another little fix is that you can see if it's out of the zone too, so you know if you're in the wrong area or not, which is not in there previously and a lot of people asked for. Selecting region names on the world map will now open maps for the selected region. The recommended list has been added, which displays quest or duty available in your area. Settings for the recommended list can be changed under UI settings in the character configuration menu. And this will basically be unlocked as you progress through the main scenario. Gear that cannot be equipped by your current class or job will now have an indicated X marking it. So look out for that when you're going through your gear screen. You see that. The icons for items that cannot be sold will now appear grayed out when speaking with a merchant NPC. And achievements have now been added. So achievements earned in version 1.0 will be carried over to Final Fantasy XIV: A Realm Reborn. So people that are new to the game get achievements now, and people that played 1.0, all their achievements carry over. And that also segues into the titles. So if any titles you unlock through achievements can now be used as well. The following changes have been made to emotes. New emotes have been added, such as /visor, which opens and closes helmets, such as the warrior helmet that was previously only open and you could never close it, and other helmets too that are used by marauders or lancers or dragoons or whatever. Certain emotes can also be used now while sitting and riding a chocobo or other various mounts, such as maybe like waving or laughing or doing other sorts of things. It doesn't really set in specific what you can and can't use, so we'll just have to wait until we jump in game and test it out for ourselves. Also, in accordance with that, characters will now lip sync when players chat log window. So if you're typing and stuff, I don't know if it means if you're currently pressing keys, like if you're typing on Skype, you see like the little the pencil writing. I think it works in a similar fashion where if you're typing a message, your character's lips move, and then when you press enter and the message gets sent, then they get to see what they were saying. I don't know if it means like while you're typing they move their lips, or like once you press enter and your words come out they move their... I'm guessing it's when you're typing. So if that's true, I think it's pretty funny, because if people are talking privately with other players and stuff, you can see who's moving their lips and who's not talking behind the scenes. So you're like, oh, look at that guy, he's talking with somebody. You see his lips moving, but he's not saying anything in like mumble or whatever. So that's going to be interesting going forward. Seeing people's mouths constantly moving while they're sitting still, doing things like that. Also, new weathers have been added: fog, gales, showers, thunder, thunderstorms, dust storms, sandstorms, heat waves, snow, blizzard, and gloom. So that's probably for like the blizzardy, snowy stuff. That's obviously for Orpheus, for the gloomy, dark stormy stuff. That's for Morgana. And then for like the thunderstorms and dust storms, that's for like Laodicea and Black Shroud. And obviously sandstorm stuff is there. You get a real-time reflection setting added, which is really nice for the players. Shadow settings with supplemented physics settings and descriptions of certain graphic settings are impressive. For gamepad settings, button configuration commands has been added to make the so here's the image display of our gamepad. Another really awesome is that now on the gamepad, this is going to be awesome. Pressing L1 can start and screenshots, and L1 select the single game file, so no longer you have to have a keyboard next to you. You can whatever the button is. I'm sorry, scroll lock with save UI. It's going to be a screenshot. You no longer have to do that. Your hands on the PlayStation 4 all the time. You don't have to run the keyboard, so type and stuff. So that is pretty awesome. For someone like me that's slaving over the keyboard of thousands upon thousands of different screenshots, that is probably single-handedly maybe for an innovation this patch over everything else. I know it sounds a little crazy, but if you take screenshots a lot, that is a godsend. On top of that, players now have players are now able to choose screenshots. Also choose the language for cutscene. And then, last but not least, fix bugs. Rex says bug fixes and specification changes have been made since phase 3 of the beta test. So, that is actually going to wrap up the entire section of the beta test phase 4 patch notes for August 14th, 2013. Thanks for being here, guys. It's been kind of a lengthy one. If you have any questions concerning phase 4, by any means necessary, be sure to leave them in the comments below. Let us know what your plans are, and we'll see you on the test. Have fun, guys.